Donald Trump might be looking good in the wake of the FBI raid on his Mar-a-Lago residence, might be actually up in the polls or definitely in favorability. And this might be clearing the field for him in 2024. We're taking a look at some information that is now coming out after the digestion of the raid. And here was a post from the Morning Consult. They do regular polls. Here's something that they reported. You have this gentleman, his name is Ian Bremmer. He's on Twitter. He's a blue check mark. He says, the percent of GOPers who say they would vote for Trump in a 2024 primary, in June, it was 53%. In July, it was 54%. And then in August, it was 58%, right? And that's the Morning Consult poll that they're referencing. And now, right, they're double downing on that. And they're saying, yep, following the FBI's Mar-a-Lago raid, 58% of Republican voters would support the former president if he ran. This is the highest on record since his 2020 loss, right? And that was on August 16th. This was a couple days ago. And so, this is still sort of percolating. And as we're learning more, we're starting to wonder, really how much of this was legitimate and not. Donald Trump, as we learned, he wants the entire affidavit unredacted. And the government doesn't. And when Trump wasn't communicating that he wanted it unredacted, the claim from people who were oppositional to Donald was that he was hiding something. But now he wants it unveiled, and they don't. And so as people are sort of processing the aftermath, we're learning that there is a lot of concerns about this from other GOP leaders. And this article came in from the Washington Post. It says here, Trump's dominance in GOP comes into focus. It's worrying some in the party. Liz Cheney defeat and her, it was a really embarrassing, one of the worst defeats in American history. Really shockingly brutal and bad. It's like she almost didn't even try. But Liz Cheney's defeat by a wide margin marked the fourth loss by a House Republican who voted to impeach Trump. And now this article from the Washington Post, they write this almost with a sense of panic in their voice. They say Trump is securing his grip on the Republican Party less than 3 months before the midterms. And that must have hurt to write. With the GOP primary voters surging to the polls in Wyoming to oust his most vocal critic, scores of nominees for state and federal offices are amplifying his claims. Cheney's gone. She got thrown out, booted out on her derriere. And this is where this is the quote that I wanted to share with you. There's this guy, his name is John Thomas. He's a GOP strategist. He said that he had been helping to organize a political action committee to support somebody by the name of Ron DeSantis, potential presidential bid by him. But he recently put those plans on pause. Right? This guy's sort of gung-ho about it. Why? He said, quote, Trump has an absolute vice-like grip on the Republican electorate. And if he wants to be the Republican nominee in 2024, he will be. Some Republican strategists have voiced worries about his influence, fretting that he is elevating less electable candidates, right? And this was part of one of the strategies that we saw that we'll see if it works out for the Democrats or not. But there was a GOP congressman who voted against Trump. His name was Peter Mayer, and I forget what state he was out of. But he just lost because the Democrats were supporting his primary opponent. Okay, so a Democrat, the DNC, was supporting a GOP candidate because they thought he was more crazy than the other guy, and they thought he would be more beatable in the general election. So we have to ask ourselves, is this the same strategy here? Right? Do they want to put up Joe Biden because he's already beaten Donald Trump? Or do they want to bring in a fresh new face? Right? What if Gavin Newsom or somebody sort of sweeps in here? Oh, nice, fresh guy with a bunch of, quotable things he says, just like Barack Obama did. In crucial races, they say, right, Donald Trump could be, nominated and then they could beat him more easily than they could a Ron DeSantis, which means they may want to indict him in order to cause the Republicans to rally around him and make him the candidate if they think he is more beatable. So is that same thing happening? We don't know. But the Republicans are fretting about it, and a Trump spokesman did not immediately respond to comments. Mike Pence is already sort of, speaking and differentiating himself from Donald Trump in many ways. Contributions to Trump's political action committee have topped $1 million on at least 2 days after the August 8th search of his Palm Beach, Florida. A lot of money flowing in. When it comes to midterms, they say he just is going to clean, or his endorsements have been cleaning up, right? They've been winning in the primaries through and through. So they're a little bit nervous about that. Now, there's this continuing conversation about, who's going to run and win in 2024. Obviously, is it Donald Trump? Seems like he's going to be announcing, but we haven't seen that yet. And we've been playing this back and forth kind of chicken or the egg, kind of who goes first type of thing between Trump announcing and the J6 committee actually indicting him, right? And who goes first, because there may be consequences of the announcement. We are seeing how the chips are falling. And something very interesting happened the other day. Alex Jones came out and made an endorsement, and it was a very strange endorsement. Now, I didn't listen to the full show. I saw some of these clips, and so there were two of them that were floating around on Twitter. But here, it sounds like he's pretty unequivocal about this. He's kind of over Donald Trump, and I had a question about it or two. Let's listen.
This is what Trump should be like, and I've been hammering this point, and he's doing it now, and we have someone that is better than Trump, way better than Trump.
Wow. And so that one kind of caught me by surprise. Someone's better than Trump, way better than Trump. And then we get kind of a full-throated endorsement of Ron DeSantis over here. And I was, I'm asking myself about timing. I'm asking myself about Alex Jones and his other litigation. I'm asking myself about, pressure from the January 6th Select Committee. I'm asking myself if he knows something that I don't know about, stuff. He's pretty plugged in, he knows a lot of stuff, and he's been pretty damn right about a lot of things too. So, a lot of questions about this. But here he is, really sort of a full-throated endorsement of DeSantis.
Pig-headedly support him a few years ago, even though I disagreed with his warp speed, because I thought that we had to keep him in office because of the nightmare scenario if Hillary or Biden got in, back before they were officially running. But that said, I am supporting DeSantis.
There you go.
DeSantis is just gone from being awesome to being unbelievably good. And I don't just watch a man's actions, as Christ said, judge a tree by its fruits. I can also look in his eyes on HD video, and I see the real sincerity.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I wasn't sort of expecting that, and I was wondering, why, sort of postulating why that may have been, something that that was a change, but it's felt a little different, right? It felt like something, a lot of the time people don't endorse this early and sort of make those statements. Is he facing pressure? Is he fearing prosecution from the J6 committee? I don't know. Interesting questions. But as we talked about, there's this thing in politics called a wedge issue. And so I pulled this open over from Wikipedia. And here's what they tell us. They say, look, a wedge issue is a political or a social issue, something controversial, something divisive in nature, which splits apart a demographic or a population group. Wedge issues can be advertised or publicly aired in an attempt to strengthen the unity of a population with the goal of enticing polarized individuals to withdraw their support entirely out of disillusionment. The use of the wedge gives rise to wedge politics, and wedge issues are known as hot button or third rail issues. Right now, what happens if they indict Donald Trump? If that ultimately comes to fruition, which at this point is probably a foregone conclusion, what does that do? Well, it causes every single Republican in the United States to have to pick a side, right? It drives a wedge. They're going to have to either say, I support this indictment and I align myself legitimately with the Biden administration. I think that what they are doing is a proper and legitimate exercise of power, and they're not trying to interfere with that. Or they have to align themselves with Donald Trump. And that would then cause a difficult sort of rift, because anybody else who wants to run in primary Trump would no longer be sort of within that protection, right? In other words, it would cause people to make endorsements against their own self-interest. Ron DeSantis would have to come out and say, what they're doing to Donald Trump is ridiculous, right? I agree he's a victim. What Biden is doing is ridiculous, and he'd have to sort of rally behind Trump to some degree. It would be really hard to thread that needle. to try to get, for Ron to sort of defend Trump while leapfrogging him in the election. The Atlantic, they actually write a piece about this. They say this indictment is not going to be good for Ron. And, oh man, am I not? Oh man, so we're not even going to read this article because I thought I had it open, but it's not even that. Let me explain it for you. If Ron sees Trump indicted, it makes it difficult for him to get any attention because all of the future attention will be about Donald Trump. It will not be about Ron DeSantis. And so that means that Ron DeSantis really only has one option, which is to defend him. And what does that mean? Hard to announce when you're defending the former president, right? It makes it very difficult for him. And the media doesn't want that to happen. Well, maybe they do. Again, I don't know if the media wants this to happen. The media may want to run against Trump, which is why they're creating the wedge to cause people to rally around Donald Trump. So they may actually want him to run. We'll have to see. Regardless, we'll continue to cover that one.